Hello, all, and welcome to another microChicago Roundtable. I am Dakota Pariset, Creative Director of microChicago, and we are very fortunate this evening to be joined by Philip Merrick of tranScript Productions and Dave Osmundsen, playwright of our play that we'll be discussing that tranScript just put on a reading of at the understudy. Is This All This Is? For those of you joining us, the microChicago Roundtable is just sort of an ongoing connection with different artists who collaborate with us through our different um, paper festivals and other series, as well as just people that we continue to meet throughout the larger community, and just creating more community and conversation about the different stuff folks are working on in the micro sense. And this is actually kind of our first non-micro related roundtable, which is exciting,
Mm.
exciting. We're lucky to be joined by Philip Merrick, producer of tranScript Productions, and also director of the recent reading, if of Is This All This Is, correct? You know,
Not director of this one, no.
I'm confusing
Um,
with the body politic.
yeah.
Well,
No, it's
go ahead,
okay.
Philip, introduce yourself and please correct me.
Yeah. Cool. So I'm Philip. I use any pronouns, and I'm executive director of tranScript Productions, and I produced this staged reading at the understudy of Dave's wonderful play.
And then Dave, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Dave Osmundsen. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am a queer and autistic playwright based in the faraway land of New Jersey. So, yes, I'm basically the interloper here.
Hmm.
Well, we appreciate the interloping.
At least somebody does.
Oh gosh, oh gosh. Well, thanks. We're recording this on a Wednesday, I think. No, it's a Tuesday.
It's a
My
Tuesday.
week has been all messed up uh, from the holiday yesterday, Indigenous People Day. But thanks for joining us, and we're super psyched to dig into this. So, something we like to ask folks is, and I guess Dave, feel free to throw your own riff on it. But how did you end up where you are? How did you kind of come to the craft of producing or playwriting?
Oh boy, how much time do we have? So I always wanted to write, but when I was a teenager, I thought I would write novels. I didn't think there was any use in writing plays whatsoever. And then when I went to undergrad, I had the intention of becoming an actor, but after some soul searching, I realized that I liked performing, but I didn't want to dedicate 4 years of my life to something that I wasn't sure about. And one of the great things about my program is that it was a BA theater studies program, which gave you a lot of flexibility to look into other areas of theater, acting, directing, playwriting, dramaturgy, stage management. And I didn't feel like I had to be one type of theater artist. I could be a
Hmm.
multi-hyphenate, even though I don't really
Hmm.
consider myself one. And I was allowed to kind of just like take in everything like a sponge. So I wrote my first play in it was the summer between my sophomore and junior year of undergrad. And it was, how do I describe it? It was my first play with everything that implies. And I learned that flop sweat is real. I remember like doing the stage directions for that play and just feeling how much the audience was resisting the play. And what was actually really great about that experience once I got over beating myself up about it was that I had some really incredible collaborators who stuck with me through that process when I certainly wasn't at my best, and also how to fail. Like I had, at least in the confines of the theater department at Montclair State University, a fairly public creative failure. And I left that experience thinking, okay, I think I want to try this playwriting thing again. I've learned a lot. I want to reapply it. So I kept writing plays, and I eventually went to Phoenix for a reading of another play I wrote, and I met Guillermo Reyes, who is the head of the dramatic writing department at Arizona State University. So we had coffee. We didn't hate each other. He came to see my reading. He didn't seem to hate the play. I say this with love. Guillermo Reyes is very hard to read. So if you're listening to this, Guillermo, no, I love you. And then so I applied to Arizona State University at Guillermo's encouragement. I got in, and that was another experience where I felt really free to explore the kind of playwright I wanted to be, because I feel like in undergrad we were taught to find the type of theater that you want to create, but if it's not bold, daring, experimental, it was worthless. And I walked away like, why would I want to put my name on any of this dog shit? So I didn't think to write about autism specifically until graduate school because my autism was disclosed to me at a really early age when I was 7, I think. I have a very
Mm,
clear memory of it actually at my grandma's house of all places. And thinking that something was A, wrong with me, B, would come back to bite me in the ass at every social faux pas
mm,
I have done my best to forget about, and how that interacts with my life as a queer person. I literally wrote another play about that. It was called Light Switch. It actually played Chicago last year at Open Space Arts, won a couple
nice.
Jeff Awards. I'm very proud of it. And Light Switch was the first play that I really kind of fused those themes of neurodiversity and queerness. And I thought it would be like a one-off play where I'm like, okay, I wrote about being autistic, that's enough. But then I was like, no, I still have more to say.
Mm,
And where is this all this is came from? Well, this play came from a lot of places. It came from my I was in my last semester of graduate school. Light Switch was starting to get attention. I won a playwriting award. I was kind of off to like what a lot of people thought was going to be a great career. And, jury's still out on that one. But I
mm,
remember thinking that last semester, like, is this everything that my life is going to add up to? So I am fusing that feeling with the feelings I had around my grandfather's death, which was, I think, like a few months before I started writing it. And then I have a lot of friends who are non-binary and trans, and this would have been around the time I think of Jake Hay Rolling's Crusade
mhm,
and just seeing, I mean, I on one hand, like I felt vindicated because I had so many Harry Potter fans make fun of me for not having read the book till I was in my early 20s. But then, like, I think of my trans and queer and non-binary friends who were deeply hurt and betrayed by that. And I was just like, the way that I think that betrayal really resonated through that community, that was something that was also on my mind at the time, and a desire to make my autistic character oeuvre less male.
mm,
And I'm trying to think of anything else that play came. Also, no, final thing, living in Arizona, just that, just living in Arizona
mm,
for 3 years and kind of like
mm,
I guess I wrote it as like a love letter to Arizona and a love letter to my trans non-binary friends, and just like kind of, I wouldn't call it a love letter to the universe, but more of a philosophical posit, if you will.
Hmm. And that, I mean, it really, like I told you before I even jumped in, like we jumped into this meeting, that like I got 10 pages left, but very much all of that is just spot on in terms of the 75 pages I think I'm in, where you definitely there's this real, I think, just kind of searing unapologetic uh energy throughout the whole piece, and you don't really pull any punches, which is lovely to see. It's a very like, and I don't know if this is the right word, but brutal play, but like it's that really important. It feels like, that wall that you have to push up against in order to like move through that challenge, whatever the wall is for you, um, to like further step in and understand identity. It feels like, at least for me, I'm a cis white man, so me coming to that play. But it really is, it's a beautiful beautiful work, and it definitely makes you think. Philip, what got you introduced? How did you find the play? How did you reach out to
Yeah,
Dave? How did you get the ball
yeah,
rolling on producing this thing?
yeah, yeah. So, um, first of all, I might just mention a little bit about how like transcript has taken shape over the past year.
Please.
Um, so, artistic director Maddie Schiltz came to me with an idea. They had, this is their baby. They couldn't make our interview today, but like transcript is Maddie Schiltz's baby ultimately. But we had been talking about it. I told them, I think this is a really cool idea for a theater company. And around February, we started like trying to get it off the ground. So we started with a virtual new play festival in June, and those were all 10-minute plays. Um, we did Rhino Fest with you, Dakota, just last month. And so this is our first like kind of like transcript produced IRL event was Is This All This Is? And so we searched far and wide. We put out kind of I just want to cattle call is something we use to describe like auditions for actors, but like we basically did a playwright cattle call for this. So we got somewhere close to like 40 plays submitted. And we read a lot of plays. And we were talking a lot at the time about like what we mean when we say we're making trans theater and what that means for selecting a piece. And is this all this is just fit really well. It's a really tenderly written play, and it gives us so many layers that we don't feel like we're missing anything. There's a couple of ways we were thinking of kind of going with this of we scheduled this reading on National Coming Out Day. Do we want a play about coming out, you know? And that sounded exciting, but we also don't want to lose that like just having really well-written trans characters, just having trans actors in the room, that is important to us too. And this play we felt like gave us a nice mix, a nice balance of both of those things. We do have a coming out story in this play, but that's not the only thing that happens by a long shot. And we just really loved how richly drawn all of these characters are, including our non-binary character in this play, Jamie, who I think is, in my opinion, like the best portrayal of an autistic teen I have seen yet in media. They always go too wholesome, and this play does not pull any punches. There are wholesome moments, but there's also a whole lot more going on. So
Having been an
we really liked
autistic
it. We thought it was
having been an
sorry?
autistic teenager, I can tell you we are not all wholesome.
No, exactly. No, exactly. And so yes, that was what drew me to this piece. And yeah, I think it worked really well.
And that was just produced at the understudy, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
How,
Yeah, and that was this Saturday. So we honestly like props to that audience. They were so engaged and enthusiastic. Um one of the strengths of this piece is that we got gasps, we got laughs out loud, and we got like really tender moments. Like I wasn't monitoring the audience for tears, but like it can also be a tearjerker. And so it was so much fun to go on that roller coaster. Um, Dakota, I won't spoil the ending for you, but I will say it ends on a cliffhanger.
Great.
And when our stage directions reader said end of play, we got an audience member going, "What?" Because it was a really effective cliffhanger, and so that was super fun. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm realizing now, Dave and Philip, can you give us kind of a general synopsis of the play
Okay.
without giving away too much?
Of all my plays, this is the one I have the hardest time summing up.
Yeah.
I think because it's about nothing, but it's also kind of about everything, which I think is a really self-aggrandizing way to phrase it. But I would say, and Philip, you are welcome to take a crack at this. I think it's about four disparate characters who are bound by love, family, and all that jazz, and how they contemplate where they've been, where they're going, and if this is all their life is going to be. That is
Yeah.
my best take on it, which doesn't really tell you
Yeah.
anything about the plot, but
I'll add a little bit if I can. It specifically follows an autistic non-binary teen named Jamie after they run away from home to stay with their Aunt Theresa, who is the sort of transient, cool aunt figure who is figuring out whether she wants to stay in Arizona. So we have a lot of questions of will Jamie go back to their mother's house? Will Theresa stay here in Arizona? Will she keep dating Tyson, her autistic boyfriend? And will Barb calm down? Is my question. Barb being Jamie's mother. That's my question for Barb. But it's I do think the reason that it's hard to like summarize it really like tritely and briefly is because there's a lot of layers in this piece. There's the layer of Jamie coming out. There's the layer of Jamie tackling the world as an autistic person who's going to be an adult soon. Um, one of the more tender scenes, I think, is when Tyson like does a mock job interview with Jamie, and they build a lot of like solidarity there. Um, and yeah, I would say main character status is maybe split between Jamie and Theresa. They all of our characters have moments of wondering what else is out there for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I was just thinking about it during one of your earlier descriptions is that coming out isn't necessarily the right term, but they all are stepping into or realizing different truths about themselves. They're all going through some sort of a threshold in terms of their identity and taking ownership of who they are. Like I think like Teresa's kind of journey it like kind of comes to a head really fast. I think probably when the last 20 to 15 pages where it's like
Mm.
have to have that hard conversation and even Tyson who probably is the one who doesn't necessarily have in terms of like a massive journey that they have to like undertake necessarily, even they go through like a million miles in just this like couple pages where they're talking with Theresa about a future. And it like so yeah, very much to your point, there are a lot of different dimensions to these characters in the only 85 pages that you've written, Dave.
yeah.
Mm.
Can I just say, speaking of Tyson, the actor who played him, Marshall, I met Marshall when I was in Chicago last year, where I was drinking with the literary manager of Steppenwolf. And Marshall just overheard like my conversation with Jonathan Green from Steppenwolf. And he was just like, yeah, some of us autistic people are just big and dumb. So I was like, oh yeah, well, I have some plays. I have this play Light Switch running. So yeah, check out my work. So several months later, I get a message from Marshall saying that he read Is This All This Is, fell in love with Tyson's character, and started using his material as monologues. And then when I found out this reading was happening, I suggested him for the part to our director, Kaylee, and I also messaged him saying, October 11th, be available.
Oh,
Wow. I actually had no idea that Marshall was already familiar with the piece. That's really fun to hear.
oh gosh. Well, that kind of leads into a nice kind of segue into one of our last questions here is what were some interesting discoveries that you kind of touched a little bit, Dave, on it, but what are some interesting discoveries that you've made through the process of coming back to this piece, or Philip, in coming to the piece just continuously through the selection process and then ultimately the rehearsal process?
Well, I can talk a bit about the play's journey because it has had, this is its fourth reading and it's going to have a fifth reading before the end of this year. I like just found out
Mhm.
about this. And I think when I first wrote it, I kind of wrote it as I really don't know what this thing is. I just want to crack these characters eventually. And then I kind of like refined it to like a 90-minute play. And then I began sending it out. And I think the first reading it got was with the Walking Shadow Readers Theater, which is a really good like first hearing of the play with actors who were not familiar with me or my work. And then that was virtual. And then there was another reading live in New York because I developed the piece with IATI Theater's a Simientos New Play Development Program. And it's interesting because the tone of this play is so specific. Like this is, I think, one of those plays where if you play it too broad, it's gonna come across as sitcom-y, but if you play it too maudlin, the humor and the humanity are gonna get lost. I've seen it
Mhm.
both ways, and
Mhm.
the New York reading really felt like a crowd pleaser in that sense, where it played like a comedy, but not necessarily a sitcom. And then
Mhm.
the week after that reading in New York, it had a reading at the Valdez Theater Conference, which is, I believe, where I met Kaylee, the director. I think that's where she and
Mhm.
I connected. And
Mhm.
I don't know if she was there the year that Is This All This Is got a reading there, or if she even saw the reading. I don't remember. And that during that reading, I got some very good feedback that I used to revise it. And then it was interesting because the audience dogpiled on Barb for being, I guess, so heinous. But I don't know. I know so many women like Barb, and like, I can't bring myself to hate them. I think because, like, I'm so not afraid of telling them what I think at this point that I'm like, I love you. And I love that I can tell you what I think, and it'll still shock you.
Mhm.
So,
I truly the whole time reading Barb, I was thinking of a specific friend's mom. I was like, I don't know what'll happen if she sees this, you know.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty much where the play's journey is now. I think I did a lot of work specifically on character development about kind of beefing up the climb. I think the newest thing from this draft from those drafts was I pretty much rewrote like the last 15 pages of the play, or at least like a decent chunk of it. Um, I wish I could tell you what those revisions are, but I made them so long ago, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then Philip, what was
Yeah.
kind of why, I guess, the why this play and why
Mm.
now? And
Yeah. Yeah.
why transcript to be the one?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think one thing that did surprise me about this process was how many different directions we could have gone based. I mean, we got a lot of good scripts, you know. And like one thing we did for TechFest this past June was we were working specifically with trans and non-binary playwrights. Like that was what we decided for that project. Um, and for this project, I don't know, um, I had frankly been operating on the assumption that the best plays about trans characters would be written by trans playwrights. And that is still true. About 99% of the time, that is still true. But I was really touched. I felt like your Jamie was authentic to me. Hearing them talk about gender sounds like how me and my friends talk about gender, you know? And so that really touched me. And it also like part of this process was discussions for us about like what is the scope of this project? Are we really gonna work with just trans playwrights, or are we going to tell trans stories in lots of different ways? And so what we settled on is like one of the ways we tell trans stories is working with trans playwrights specifically. Another way is working with trans actors. Another way is like using casting choices to kind of like queer a play, right? There are a lot of ways that we can do this. This play now, because it's National Coming Out Day, and we felt that that fit really well, you know, um, and because it touches on a little bit of everything. It feels like a universal story, even though it's also very specifically a trans story, and that just felt perfect.
Can I just say, like, I was actually very nervous to accept the offer when you and Maddie sent this to me for these very reasons, because I was like, am I going to be taking away an opportunity from a trans non-binary
Yeah,
playwright? Because I very much don't want Is This All This Is to become the trans non-binary
yeah,
play. I like if that happens, like I will just roll my eyes so hard they will never come from the back of my head. Um,
uh-huh,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
And no,
and
I get those fears. I really do. And I don't know. I do think we ultimately have to move away from the assumption that there's a finite number of opportunities from the world and that we're always stealing them from each other. That's not how that works, you know? Um, and frankly, like there was a lot of stuff we discussed here. For example, like if we want to work with trans actors specifically, are we expecting them to out themselves when they walk in the room? Like,
mm,
what happens if someone who's questioning their identity wants to work with us? Right? It gets really dicey when we make identity a requirement to get in the door. So like for us, this is actually a better way to include everyone is to open up the door just a little bit more.
it's funny you say that because so many of those conversations are the same thing you could apply to autism, because there are so many brilliant actors who acknowledge being autistic but aren't public about it. And
Yeah,
I know one brilliant actor who is autistic and he's open about it, but he like when I met him for coffee, he like lowered his voice when he mentioned it and he caught himself doing it. But like
yeah,
but then you also think about how like,
yeah,
I don't want to be like known as the autistic actor. Ideally, I would want to be cast as any role. And, in
yeah,
my work, like I've often cast autistic actors as non-autistic characters and vice versa. I think there's a way to do it in good faith. I feel like I just mentioned this on another podcast where there was a production of Light Switch where I believe the actor playing the lead character was not autistic, but the director was autistic. So you have an
mm,
autistic person literally steering this
yeah,
whole ship, and that means
yeah,
nothing? Like, come on, guys.
yeah, yeah, no, exactly. And I mean we had that exact same conversation about casting for this one, right? Like we had Marshall playing Tyson, um our actor playing Jamie is not themselves on the spectrum, but like has other people in their life that are on the spectrum. Like we were convinced that they can like do this justice. You know what I mean? You have to be able to take it a little bit case by case. Otherwise you just run into so many problems.
Oh gosh, this is such a good conversation. Well, I think this is actually a wonderful time to switch into kind of our lightning round as we start to wind down. But I just want to say quickly, thank you again to both of you for again sharing a little bit of your time this evening and just um, talking about trans representation and talking about autistic representation in the theater. And I just feel really privileged to be able to have a conversation with you guys about that. So without further ado, we move into our micro bite round. For folks who aren't familiar, micro bites are just essentially a lightning round. I'm going to ask a very quick question. We're going to get some very quick answers. And we will have to cater a few of these because Dave is in the wilds of New Jersey. So I'll do my best. But are we ready? Fantastic.
Ready.
What is your favorite pizza or hot dog, or and where from? Or in Jersey's case, where would be the best place to uh, chill at a diner, and what is your go-to order?
I will go first. I will always have a soft spot for the Pompton Queen Diner in Pompton Plains, New Jersey. That is where I am from. And my order used to be chicken fingers and French fries, and it still is. But I also really like their Southwest chicken sliders.
Ooh,
And
snap.
the portions are massive. It's the perfect place to go to for a late night post club MDMA hang down come down or whatever you want to call it. It's great. I love it.
Amazing.
My favorite pizza place is Crushed Pizzeria on Montrose. And I'll always do like a slice of pepperoni, but they also have some like weird specialty ones. There's one that has corn on it, which sounds wild, but it's great.
My Nebraska heart just burst a little.
Yeah.
um, what was the last thing on the food? What was the last thing that you were consuming creatively?
I consume a lot creatively, but I'll take this opportunity to plug. I just watched a really good horror movie last night on Hulu called Late Night with the Devil. It is 90 minutes. It is kind of found footage. It almost plays like a play. Um, that's about as much as I want to say without spoiling it, but Late Night with the Devil.
No.
I was just reading Psalm for the Wild Built. It's a little novella. It's kind of like futuristic sci-fi. And I had to return it to the e-library on my Kindle, so I couldn't finish it. But I'm
Oh
gonna
no.
go get it from the actual library and finish it.
Perfect. What is your fall? What does your fall tend to include?
At least one pumpkin spice latte. Um, hot apple cider. And
Mhm.
for around the holiday season, the chestnut praline latte from Starbucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would second apple cider, especially like mulled cider is
Ah,
great.
yes.
Um, either carving pumpkins or sometimes painting them, I enjoy. And finding a big leaf on the ground and stepping on it and hearing the crunch.
Yeah. It'll crunch.
It's got
Uh,
to be crunchy.
it has to be crunchy. You go out of your way to hit the
Yeah.
crunch.
Yeah.
What's the favorite spot in your respective city?
The Book Barn in Denville, New Jersey. That place is my happy place. It is, I call it the Strand of New Jersey, which, if you don't know what the Strand is, it is a massive bookstore in New York. But at the Book Barn, You can get a hardcover book for $3, a paperback for 2, and a mass market paperback for 1. And they have DVDs, they have comics. I think they have may have the odd VHS, and they're attached to a bargain barn. So I've like as you can probably see from my background, I need to have too many books, and I'm still contemplating a visit to the book barn to get more. Why? I don't know. Retail therapy. I need it now more than ever. We all need it now more than ever. So, yeah, the book barn in Denville, New Jersey.
Definitely wrote that down. I might be in the New York, New Jersey area next month. We'll see if I can make an excuse to go there.
Well, if
Oh,
you
and
do, let
from
me know. I will cook dinner for you.
hell yeah. Okay. Um, my favorite spot here, um, I guess I have a few favorites. I mean, shout out to the understudy, honestly.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
great. I went there last year when I was in Chicago. I fell in love with
yeah,
that place.
yeah, yeah. I also spend so much of my time either in Dollop Coffee, which is down the street from me one way, or in Sulzer Regional Library, which is down the street from me the other way. So,
Nice. I love the books, the books, the books.
mm.
This one is a little bit more Chicago centric. But what's your favorite L line stop, or what is the best road to take anywhere in New Jersey?
I love this road and I hate this road, but I-80. It is the worst kept major highway in New Jersey. There are always potholes. There was, oh my God, like back in like June, no, not June, like last March, I think, there was a giant sinkhole that opened up by us on Route 80. And they had almost finished fixing that sinkhole when another sinkhole opened up on the other side of the road. So I had a job. So my day job is I work with individuals with developmental and intellectual disabilities. It's a fun job. I love it. And at that time, I was supervising bowling excursions for these folks. And of course, the exit I needed to take was the exit that all the sinkhole diversion detour traffic was going. So that added like 20, 30 minutes to my trip. But I also look at 80 and I'm like, maybe it's this wistful nostalgia I had for it. But like when I was in high school, I looked at 80 as kind of like the road to other places in New Jersey. And I think since 80, I believe, goes across the entire United States, I look at it as a like a road to the whole country.
Nice. Okay. For me, oh, the brown line is my line, first of all. Favorite stop would be a tie between Montrose, which is my stop. It belongs to me and no one else. Uh, because I've lived very near it pretty much the whole time I've lived in Chicago. Um, Tied with the Armitage stop for this one piece of graffiti that I really like there.
Yeah, the one you wrote about in
Yeah,
Roundtable. Yeah,
yeah,
running
yeah.
up that hill.
So it's this big purple and pink graffiti that just says Brink. And it's like 2 seconds before the stop. And I'm like, wow, I'm just on the brink of getting off of the train. And somehow that's really compelling to me.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and what was the last script or piece of text that you were working on, writing, or reading?
Uh, I mean,
Um,
I could talk about the last play I read. I could talk about the last book I read. I could talk about the book I'm reading right now. I could talk about the play I'm rehearsing right now. Like, what do you want? I got a lot.
Give me three.
Okay, so I'm going to not talk about the play I'm in rehearsal for because I want to plug that. But the book that I am reading right now, so I'm trying to dedicate this year to reading books that have been on my shelf since the dinosaurs roamed the earth, and I've just never gotten around to for one reason or another. And one of those books is Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. And Sorry, not sorry, but like 10 pages into this, and how do you not see the homoeroticism? Like, come on, people. And then the last play I read, I've been on kind of a thriller bent. So I read Night Watch, which is a thriller by Lucille Fletcher, which is pretty entertaining. My partner often like bemoans the loss of the great thriller on Broadway because they really haven't had a good thriller since like Death Trap, I want to say, and that ran for Death Trap's another fun play too. And then the last book I read was what was the last book I read? I really hope I wrote it down. I keep all my books in a uh Zombie by Joyce Carol Oates, which is a Joyce Carol Oates book called Zombie. That's all you need to know about it.
Great. Great. Um, I I have recently been reading a play called Savior Complex by Morris McLennan for a play reading club that I run, which is really fun. So we will be meeting to discuss that next week with the playwright. So Playground Play Club, that's the plug.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. And then what is one thing that you're looking forward to at the end of this year?
Wicked for Good.
Okay, great. Um, I'm looking forward to some of my like tried and true holiday things. So like mulled cider is on there. Um, my mom's famous pumpkin cheesecake for Thanksgiving.
Mm.
Um, I'm looking forward to all of the like string lights that go up in my neighborhood around Christmas. It gets really cute. And yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, I can't believe it's already October. We're almost halfway tomorrow. Almost. But I wish the best to both of you, and I'm just again want to thank both of you for taking the time to chat just a little bit about transcript, to chat about your work, and this all this is. And we would love to just kind of hear what y'all have coming up next in the works. I know we've kind of touched a little bit, but what are you currently working on, or do you have kind of in the wings? And where can we find more of your stuff?
Yeah, so I did mention Is This All This Is getting another reading towards the end of this year. I don't know how much I can say, but I do know the state that it's going to be in was mentioned. Um, that's right, Dakota. Um, so and then so I'm currently in the middle of rehearsal for my New York City playwriting debut, which is a comedy called Bum Bum or This Farce Has Autism. It is about a Night of Too Many Stars-esque telethon event where the autistic talent, frustrated with problematic pop stars, casual ableism, and just being an autistic person in general, told to be a sanitized version of yourself, they get fed up and they take over. And it's going to be produced by Epic Players, a neuro-inclusive theater company based in New York. I've been developing a relationship with them the last few years, and I am so thrilled that they're doing it. It's going really well. So if anyone is in New York, I would love, come say hi. It'll be great to see you. And then if you want to know more about me and my work, I do not run an official website now because I don't know if anyone wants me to do that. But I am on the new Play Exchange where you can read Is This All This Is and all of my other work. And if you want to purchase Light Switch, it is available from Broadway Play Publishing.
Wonderful. Um, Next up for transcript is going to be next year's Technicolor Play Festival. So once again in June, we're going to gather a group of playwrights to write and stage an online reading of a short play. Each of them, I mean. So it'll be really fun. It'll be an ensemble experience. It'll be a way to get new works out there. And guess you can follow our Instagram, transcript dot productions on the Insta and transcript dash productions for the website. I have to remember.
Perfect. And we will also try to have those linked in the comments. If you got this far, look there. Well, that's fantastic. I just want to say again one more time, thanks for just sharing a little bit of your evening to chat about your work and your collaborations. And microChicago would love to have either of you at any time for a micro play or something. So
Next time I'm in Chicago, absolutely.
heck yeah. Well, thank you again to everyone who has been tuning in, has watched these before. We really appreciate it. And we hope that you can join us again. Feel free to give this video a share too if you got this far. And yeah, we hope you continue to join us in the exploration of the infinite space of small.